Okay, now we can get started. Nancy, go ahead.
Thank you again for joining us. We are going to be running our 2021 UPK program. The program will have the half-day UPK classes. They'll run from 9:50 to 12:20. We're moving the start time a little bit to accommodate drop-offs, both for the K through 3 students and also for our UPK students, just to make it a little bit easier for parents to get in and for our buses to get in. So the time will shift slightly. There will be half-day sessions at Jefferson, Flower Hill, South Denham, Washington. And Jefferson, there's also the one class that's a full-day option that will run. The half-day sessions will run on our hybrid model. They will follow the Huntington School District hybrid model, meaning that students will go Tuesday and Wednesday with one cohort, and then Thursday and Friday would be a separate cohort or group of students. We will assign those cohorts. If you have an older sibling in our school district, your UPK child's cohort will match your older sibling, your older child's cohort. We will send that information home shortly when we have all of the class rosters set up. Mondays will alternate, so that also will follow the Huntington School District schedule. We'll send that home for you also. And then you can remote stream in on the days that you're home. The full day program is going to run the 5 full days, because that falls under the Office of Children and Family Services. It's a little bit different because it's a full day. It's licensed separately than the UPK, so that can run for a full day program.
I'm just going to take a step back 1 second, because I realize I'm speaking to a group of universal pre-kindergarten parents who may be with first children. You don't know who you're speaking with right now. My name is Jim Polanski. I'm the superintendent of schools in Huntington. Nancy Allard is our data coordinator, and she also oversees the district end of our UPK program. I have Melissa Kraus with us, joining us this morning. UPK is unique, and I'll come back to Melissa in a second. Just very briefly, UPK is a program that is state funded. When I arrived here 11 years ago, we had a program that was off-site, which was fine to a degree, but we had always longed to have a program that we partnered with another organization that we could run within our school buildings and really connect it to the programs and processes that the kids will experience once they leave UPK and enter kindergarten. So enter SCOPE. Melissa is the coordinator of the SCOPE pre-K program. You may see her online as well on the platform this morning. It is a SCOPE program, but we are true partners in the process, and we have really developed a nice tandem of cooperation and collaboration and putting a very nice program together, and we thank SCOPE for that. They do a lot of great work, and it's not going to change for any reason, even under the current circumstances. So we are continue to work with SCOPE. Nancy spoke a little bit about how the program is going to run differently this year. There were some questions about funding. I mentioned that to some parents previously. We did find out that the money is, in fact, going to come in. We're just not sure if we're going to get the full load of it. So we're working through that on our end. Also joining us this morning, you may see her right, I see her right to my left. Dr. Kathleen Acker is my assistant superintendent for finance and management services. She has been overseeing all of my subcommittees and the work in the non-instructional facility related area. So I asked her to join this morning so she can answer any of those questions. Care about your kids, looking forward to helping make their UPK experience a great first experience for many of them, and also to prep them for kindergarten during the following year. All right, thank you. And Nancy, I'm going to let you pick it back up.
Okay. I'm sure you may have some questions. If you want to type your questions in, we could start to answer those.
Okay, you know what I'll do, Nancy? I'm going to make you co-host here.
Okay.
So you can actually, hang on a second, so you'll see the chat as I am.
Okay.
Okay. And the best way to do this is just to read I can do that, and then I'll let you take it from there. And Kathy and I will jump in for things that go beyond the UPK program itself. So we'll start right up at the top here. Can you give any insight into how remote learning will look at this level? And the concern is, I can't imagine a 4-year-old sitting down for several hours of watching a stream classroom. That is surely a valid concern. So I'll let Nancy and Melissa, you're unmuted. You'll feel free to jump in at any point. So I'll let you two take it from there.
Melissa, do you want to start with that one? Because I know we've been discussing it, but I think you can
Sure.
better describe it.
Yeah, so on the days that your children are not physically in the classroom, first I'd like to thank everyone. Thank you to the Huntington School District for having us partner with them to put this program in place. On the days that your children are not in school and the live streaming will take place, the portion that will be streaming will be the morning or afternoon meeting, the morning meeting. It will also be the actual instructional time, and it wouldn't make sense for children at home to be watching the play taking place in the classroom, so on and so forth. So it'll be the actual instructional. It'll be the literacy portion, the math related portion, and also story times, and like I said, the morning meeting. And then information will be uploaded for you to be able to work with your children at home after the live streaming time.
And if anyone has follow-up questions, just enter them into the chat. This is a much smaller group than I'm used to working with in these forums, which makes sense. So I should be able to get to the questions a little bit more quickly. So I'm going to go in order here. And Melissa, a lot of these are probably going to come in your direction. So next question is, what type of resources will be provided if opting for full remote?
So for a full remote option, then our intention would be to live stream on a daily basis for instructional time. And additionally, in a similar way that when your children are on their alternate days during the hybrid model, information will be provided at home so that families can work with their children at home with activities that will build on the instructional time that they experience during the live streaming portion.
So as a follow-up to that question, the parent actually asked about some examples. So she was talking specifically about Chromebooks, textbooks, workbooks, or print materials. So maybe speak to the Chromebooks, because it is not a district program. It's actually a scope program, and we're a partner in it. It works a little bit differently. So you want to speak to the technology?
Okay.
Just in terms of what we provide, Nancy, maybe this is you, what we provide and what we don't provide.
We do not provide Chromebooks to our UPK students. So parents would have to have their own computers at home to access the live streaming. I think Melissa and I are talking about Google Classroom. So if you can access Google Classroom, some materials can be provided to parents that way, but we also discussed print materials to provide parents, that if you can't access them through a Google Classroom, we would actually scope would send them home or provide a way to get those to you.
So if I could just also jump in, additionally, our teachers are provided with an iPad and a smartphone in each one of the classrooms. So through the use of the smartphone, they utilize the Remind Me app and send information via text messaging and things of that nature.
Thank you for that. I think that's really where the essence of the question was going. Okay, next question. Will we have a chance to tour the classrooms and meet the teacher?
I can grab that one if you don't mind. So once our classes have been assigned and confirmed, then our teachers will be reaching out to you with a welcome letter. Their intent is to have a virtual meet and greet. They will be holding that from their classroom, so you have a visual of what the room setup is going to look like. You'll have an opportunity to meet the classroom teacher and the teacher assistant, and a lot of the necessary protocol-related information will be in that meet and greet letter, that welcome letter, to give you the information to get started for the first day of school.
Hello?
Give you an opportunity to interact with the teacher live.
Perfect. Thank you very much for that. Okay, hang on a second here. And just so you know, the visitor practice is going to change until this is over. So there really is going to be very limited access to the building for people from the outside. Maybe a parent meeting, but that'll have to be scheduled in advance. The only persons that will be routinely accessing buildings, obviously students and staff, and any contracted service providers, which will be contributing to the health, safety, and services for our students. So, and that's just to protect everyone. All right, will the classes be live like the other grades? I think we addressed that one already. Anything further there from Nancy or Melissa?
They will be live.
Okay. But how will my child's level of learning be assessed if learning remotely? That's a good question.
So we do have, we had to address this issue at the end of last year when the classes went remote at that point. So we just base it on a continuum of what we're doing in the classroom. We do utilize a tool for assessment. It will be a live interaction between the teacher and the student to be able to acquire some information for that assessment. And then it will come to you in the form of a progress report that will be provided to you at 3 times during the year.
Thank you. Okay, will UPK students be issued Chromebooks, or should we purchase them ourselves? We addressed that one. Is there a student supply list published somewhere? I'm going to let Melissa or Nancy handle that one. Just notice on our website, I know the supply lists are published or up there and certainly being updated for K through at least the elementary levels here, but speak to that at the UPK level.
Okay, so I'll jump in for that one. Yes, that welcome letter that I am referring to will have a portion of it that is a supply list, and those items will be listed for you at that time. So be on the lookout for that. That'll be emailed to you shortly.
Okay, next. It's a great question. How strictly will masks be required if my 4-year-old takes her mask off? Will she be sent home?
Would you like me? Okay, I'll take that one. So your child will not be sent home. We are prepared that students, especially at the 3 and 4-year-old level, are not accustomed to this. So we will encourage them to remain socially distant when they do not have their masks on. They will be given frequent mask breaks, and they will be very kindly directed to put them back on. I encourage the practicing of this while they're outside of school, and the encouragement on your part so that they know when they come into our care, they're safe, and the direction to put them on is a comfortable one for them.
Okay, and just so you know, that's exactly how we're handling it with our elementary students as well. You can do a great deal of prep work before the school year begins. Make a game out of it, make it fun for them, place the mask on a stuffed animal, you wear it and smile and laugh behind it. Do it in short stints so they get used to it, and they probably are to a certain degree, or possibly are, but the more positive you are about it, they will, they will pick that up very quickly. So thank you,
So
Melissa.
before we move on to the next question, if I could just go back to the supplies for 1 minute, I failed to share.
Sure.
That each child will be provided with their own supplies. So one of the reasons why we're encouraging you to send some of the items in is because we'd like to keep them boxed and individualized in the classroom for individual use.
Okay, great. Okay, next, will UPK students be assigned an email address? And that will not happen through the Huntington School District. I will let Melissa pick up the scope side of it.
Yes, so we're going to encourage that you develop an email address that can be used for the sake of Google Classroom. And so this way it stays secure for you. And when Google Classroom is used, there will be an invite code that you should use, and it will keep the information private.
But just to clarify, Melissa, the parents would be setting up the email address through their Google, Gmail, Opt Online, Verizon accounts, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. My other child goes to Flower Hill, first grade, so am I not allowed to drop them off at the same time? So there is a time difference there. Flower Hill starts, so everybody knows, if you have 2 children, the other in primary, Flower Hill starts at 9:20, runs from 9:20 to 3:40. Melissa, can you speak to the times for UPK?
So just to confirm, Nancy, we're moving to the 9:50 start time, correct?
We are moving to 9:50 just to accommodate all of the parents that may be dropping off, and also the bus the buses that come in for K through 3.
So to address the question then, in order to ensure the safety of your preschooler, we're going to require that the drop-off time remain at 9:50. We need to keep the children safe when in our care, and we will have a teacher and a teacher assistant at the arrival time, but we need to stick to the 9:50 start.
So the answer is actually they would not be dropped off at the same time. We are using a daily questionnaire, needs to be filled out on a daily basis for anybody entering the building. So even if it's a visitor, they're going to have to answer the questions such as, does my child have a fever, or do I have a fever of 100.0 degrees Fahrenheit or higher? Have they tested positive for COVID? Do they have symptoms of COVID? Have they been in contact with somebody who's tested positive? Have they traveled to a state that's restricted, a state or country? So we need confirmation from you that the answers to all of those questions are no. I'm going to say it here. I've said it at every meeting. This is critical. And if you've looked at our reopening plan, we are approaching this very conservatively with safety and flexibility as our first and foremost considerations here. But safety first. So, and I've said this, and I've done it myself. I can't help it. Comparing to other districts, we are allowing fewer children into the building overall than many other districts. We just need to feel comfortable with our practices here. That daily questionnaire, collecting that data, making sure we can track who does fill it out, who could possibly answer yes. That's not an easy process. We need to establish a rhythm there, and it's important that we start small. At the elementary level, we're starting with less than 50% of our kids overall in our buildings at the same time. And at the high school level, we're actually starting with probably less than 25% on a given day. So it's a conservative approach that we feel is appropriate for the safety and well-being of our kids, our staff, and our families. So the questionnaire is a process. Nancy or Melissa can speak to that in terms of the scope context, but they'll also be walking through you'll do that, but they'll also be walking through what looks like an airport scanner. It's actually an infrared temperature scanner that will flash the temperature as they walk through. It can take up to 70 at a time, but we're going to be doing it very deliberately. If they record a temperature in that device of over 100 degrees Fahrenheit, they'll be pulled to the side and double check with a handheld digital scanner. And if it's confirmed there, they're going to be sent to an isolation room. You're going to have to pick them up. Okay, so obviously a 4-year-old is not getting home on his or her own, and they will have to be checked out. They will either require a note from a healthcare provider that they are it's something other than COVID, or they're going to have to get tested. So this is something that we are not going to compromise on our end, whether it be pre-K or 12th grade. So just to throw that out there. I don't know if you want to add to that, Nancy or Melissa.
Melissa, do you want to also add the protocols for scope?
So similar to what the district protocols are, it'll be a double check once they get into our classrooms for the sake of scope recording the information to the agencies that we need to. It'll be a similar type situation in that when the children arrive at the classroom, there's a thermometer in that room as well. There would be a double check process in place. We also have a protocol in the event that your child is detected as not being well, and they will be cared for and supervised until somebody can come and pick them up.
Excellent, thank you. I think you hit the start time. You may have hit it all together, Nancy. What is the start and end time for the full day?
9:50 to 12:20.
For the full day?
Oh, for the full day
Yep.
will also be 9:50. And the end time, we have to
3:50?
confirm at this point.
Would it be 3:50, Nancy?
We're looking at 3:50, yes.
Okay, which actually is probably going to be a help for parents. And the full day program runs at Jefferson Primary, which is on Oakwood Road. The district is situated 4 primary schools, actually in 4 corners of the district. Jefferson is in the southwest corner, close to the intersection of Oakwood and Pulaski Roads, if you have not been there. Okay, you mentioned shortly for sending out the days that my child, this parent is looking for the days that her child will be assigned to go to school. Sounds like a half-day program. How soon will they receive that? Because they need to figure out childcare.
We are finalizing rosters now. We will provide those to Scope, and Scope will mail those home for everyone.
Okay, thank you. And for those with second children already in district, I hope you know this, that our Appendix A, the plan does have the cohorts mapped out for you. So you'll see that as well. Okay, will children be able to play together if wearing masks?
So children will have an opportunity to play together. Unfortunately, pre-K has to look different than it has previously in that we need to really streamline the activities that the children can participate in. But we plan on having them have an opportunity to interact with one another and remain socially distant. For example, when they're participating in their morning meeting, they can be seated, in a group, but 6 feet apart, seated on the floor, where they'll be able to make eye contact and perhaps sit in a circle and, interact with one another that way. When they're seated at their desks, it will be a break time because they will be seated 6 feet apart during that time. But yes, we do intend on having some activities where they can interact with one another and remain socially distant.
Okay, hang on a second. I lost my place here. Okay, will UPK run 5 days beginning in phase 2 or phase 3? So that has to refer to the half-day program. And that's something we can talk to Scope about. Just to address the phases from my end, and then I'll let Melissa or Nancy pick it up. The phases are not dated. So the things that we are looking at, and Scope will align with us in terms of shifting phases in general, although there is some flexibility here in terms of having the little guys come back full time. But the idea is we're not going to shift anything until we feel confident that it's safe to do so. So the things that we'll be looking at is, number one, positive test rates, regional metrics, local metrics within our school district community. Right now, what the governor has said, all schools can reopen because 5% or less positive test rate, that was his threshold. He stuck to that. And any region in New York right now, it's either below 1% or it fluctuates slightly above 1%, but nothing has been close to 5. That's why the governor said schools can reopen. Once that happens, now he's saying, unless it hits 9%, you can stay open. 9% is a large, there's a large distance between where we are now and that, but there's a spike, it can happen very quickly. We're going to run conservatively here, so if there is a problem, we'll shut it down, particularly if there's a spike within the community or in a particular school. So there's no date on the phases. One of the things we'll look at, as I mentioned, is regional metrics. We're also going to look at the efficacy of our procedures and how well students are able to follow through with the masks and with the social distancing and with the physical barriers, et cetera. I know this is not going to look like typical preschool, but please understand that we've got to take the safety and well-being needs first. The other thing we'll look at is the possibility, and I know some UPK parents have already opted for this, a full virtual program. So that may help us move it forward a little bit more quickly if all the other things are going in the positive direction. If a child tests positive, heaven forbid. Listen, I have to prepare you for that because I can't imagine it not happening at some point in some school district. If a child tests positive, that will likely lead to very quickly a call from Scope saying you're quarantined for you're staying home, and you may get a call from Suffolk County indicating you're quarantined for 14 days, which is the standard CDC and Department of Health recommendation. So what that does and why we're working through these cohorts is to keep the cross-contamination to a minimum. So if you're in a Tuesday, Wednesday group, that would not impact the Thursday, Friday group if somebody tested positive on Tuesday. We're going to scour these rooms, scrub them down, desanitize from top to bottom on a daily basis, and particularly between the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Wednesday, Thursday groups in terms of the half-day cohorts. So that's that's a district commitment right there. Okay, I'm moving on here. Will the UPK students also get a Chromebook? We addressed that. Or will they use a different method than Google Classroom? I think we hit that one already. And the other part of this question is, will there be after, before care to extend the half day to full day?
Right now, we currently have one class that extends the half day to full day. However, that class is full. The other classes will not be extended to full day.
So the after
before.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It won't have before care either.
That was my next question. The before care is something we can only work through with our K through 12 students, and I believe there is an agreement in place and liability involved there. But the aftercare wouldn't be possible because it's in the school, and we can't do any daycare type program in the school while kids are in the building. There's just not enough room to do that. Okay. Are virtual days mandatory? And I can speak to our practices in Huntington. Yes, they are, but I don't know if there's anything you want to add there, Melissa, in terms of UPK.
So we realize that children have different levels of interest and abilities and so on and so forth, where, you know, perhaps spending the time at home in the same way that they would in the classroom would be different. So we encourage that they participate. It would not be mandatory.
Okay, and this is the same question. Are they required to join virtually on their home days? Okay. When is there a possibility to move from phase 1 to phase 2 and go to 5 days a week? Unfortunately, we can't put a time frame on that because there's so many variables involved. As much as we'd like to do it as quickly as possible, it's got to be done both safely, responsibly. We want these children in school as much as you do. It's just a matter of us being able to do it in a manner that makes sense and doesn't put anybody else at risk. So please be patient there. I can't give you an exact time. All right, please explain what the virtual days will look like. How much time are the kids expected to be on the computer? Is there a live stream of the class? Will the teacher interact with the virtual children? So I'm going to let Nancy and or Melissa expand on that.
So we talked a little bit about that before, but I'll talk about it again. So on the days that your children are expected to be virtually present, then there's a live stream of the actual instructional time, the morning meeting, which will take about 20 minutes. And then activities will be provided to you that will build on that learning experience for you then to do at home with your child. So the actual time on the computer probably would be maximum 30 minutes, probably hovering around 20.
Okay. Thanks for that. Next, I think we addressed, do pre-K students have to wear masks all day? I think we addressed that and talked about mask breaks. Okay, this is a Melissa question. Will the children still have circle time?
They will, absolutely. We will just set the room up so that they could be socially distant during that time, but still have that same experience.
Bigger circle.
Much bigger.
Okay. Will we be speaking about all virtual options during virtual? Will my daughter be seeing other students on screen or just the teacher? I think, did we hit that one already? We addressed that already?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, are full day students permitted to purchase lunch? I will let Melissa and Kathy and Nancy combine on that one.
I'm sorry, repeat the question.
Are full day students permitted to purchase lunch?
What did they typically do?
They have never had purchased lunch.
So then we wouldn't be changing
All right,
that.
That's a scope question.
Yes, so we have students bring their lunch, and lunch will be in the classroom. Scope will provide a morning snack and an afternoon snack, but lunch is provided by home.
And actually, just coincidentally, the next question, do we send our child with snack?
Oh, there it is. So in a half-day class, then there's a snack in the morning that will be served by Scope. They will be individually wrapped. Your child has the choice of water, milk, or juice throughout the day. So that's provided. And then in the full day, snack is twice a day.
Okay, thank you. All right, how will the busing if my child turns 4 how will the busing, I assume it means work, if my child turns 4 a few weeks into the school year? Just all of you recognize, and this is not a pandemic issue, this is in general how we run the program. Pre-K has their own dedicated buses, vans, I should say.
So I will add that, so the way we have it broken up now, the cohorts, there will be a max of 9 students in each of the cohorts or groups. And it's broken up that way because we can fit 9 students on a bus. So if you opted into busing, I sent out a survey for parents who responded. If you requested the bus on that survey, you will be getting transportation information sent home to you. If you responded no, we will not assign a bus to you. If you did not respond at all, we are assigning a bus. If your child turns 4, it follows the protocols of previous years, you would need to call the transportation department about 2 weeks prior to your child's 4th birthday. Let them know your child is turning 4, and they will assign a bus to you in a bus stop that your child can start riding the bus on their 4th birthday. But they do need a little bit of lead time, so I would call about 2 weeks before your child's 4th birthday to set that up. If you receive bus information, or if something changes and you no longer want your child to ride the bus, please let the transportation department know. Often the bus will be waiting for children that are no longer riding the bus, and it just slows the route down a little bit. So if you could please just give us a call if you do receive transportation information and you do not want your child to ride the bus.
And just to add to that a little bit in terms of school law or commission regulation, some of you with older children may be asking, why didn't I get an option for the bus or to opt out of the bus for my primary school student? I know some districts are asking those questions. By law regulation, we have to provide a seat for every child who's eligible for busing, whether they use it or not. UPK does not fall into that category, so we actually don't have to offer transportation at all for UPK. We have chosen to do it because we want to make this as convenient a process as possible for you. We want to entice you to take advantage of a great program, and transportation could be that limiting factor. But that said, we can ask the question, and there's no ramification there. Otherwise, in terms of permissibility with respect to whether or not you want to use the bus. So that's why we can ask the questions. Then if you don't want to use it, we can reroute accordingly. So that information is actually important for our UPK transportation process. So if that clarifies anything, and if it didn't, I apologize. All right, my daughter will be attending the scope at Jefferson. Will she be in one classroom? This is a full day program. Will she be in one classroom or in 2 different classrooms? And about how many children will be in the classroom? So that's Nancy or Melissa.
So your child will be in the same classroom all day, and the maximum number of children, because it's licensed under the Office of Children and Family Services, is 15.
Thank you. All right, will iPads or laptops be provided for hybrid? I think we touched upon that already. All right, are the times of these instructional sessions grouped together or spread out throughout the 2.5 hours? I'm missing something there. Any thoughts?
Can you repeat it, please?
Are the times of these instructional sessions grouped together or spread out throughout the 2.5 hours?
So I think, if I'm not mistaken, maybe it's, do the children work in small groups?
Yeah.
Right? So there really will be a combination of learning styles during the day, in that some will be grouped into small groups. It'll look very different this time because we need to keep students socially distant when they're in our care. But there will be also whole group learning experiences where they'll be seated at their desks, knowing that they will be socially distant during that time. So it'll be a combination of both types of formats. But, you know, priority, keeping them safe when in our care.
Thanks for the clarification there. Okay, next, non-pandemic related, when does school start? I think we addressed that, so that's 9:50. Will we be getting more information regarding drop-off, pickup, full day? Will we hear from our child's teacher prior to the start of the year regarding supplies, etc.? I think a number of those components were touched upon. I don't know if there's anything to add, Melissa?
So just to reiterate, as soon as we get the class lists, and working with Nancy on getting those quickly, we'll be sending out a letter that will come from your classroom teacher that will be emailed to you in the form of a welcome letter that will address all the pieces to get ready for the start of school.
Okay. I think that same parent acknowledged that it was answered. I'm sorry, I'm going in time order here, so I didn't see it until now, but thank you for that. What will the classroom look like? Will they have desks with plastic barriers? Can you describe mask wearing requirements and mask breaks? I know some of that was addressed. Do you want to add anything to that?
So the half-day classrooms will have tables. They're 6 feet apart. The children will sit on either end of the table. That will be 6 feet apart. And the full day will have separate desks.
With desk shields on them.
Right. And we have ordered a whole load of desk shields, so we do have more than one per child per desk one of them becomes soiled at any point during the day, we can have our custodial staff swap it out. Okay. For example, if a child sneezed on it or something like that, we'll take care of it promptly. In the past, children sat at shared tables. Will there be partitions? What is the policy for masks and mask breaks? I think we addressed that's sort of the same question. Okay, is it possible for is it possible for those who attend hybrid to receive print materials on the days they are present for use on the days that they are home? It feels important that they be working on their fine motor skills through physically writing. If not, what time can we expect materials to be posted daily? That's a very good question.
So we'll make the arrangements for that information to come out to you in whatever way you prefer it comes, so we can email it to you. And it'll be available. I'm going to collaborate with the teachers, but I would say on Monday so that it can be accessed throughout the week.
Okay, this has to do with transportation, so Kathy and I can help here. How would social distance on the bus work? How will they be around during playtime? I think the playtime was addressed already. We're going to have to really work together as a school-home partnership here in terms of helping the students understand. These are 4-year-olds. It's hard with my oldest is 24. I'm trying to get the idea into his head as well. Social distancing is not something that, as a social species, we're really accustomed to. We're not designed to be used to this. So we have to work with them to help them understand in a positive manner, just like wearing a mask, how to stay 6 feet or more apart. They're not going to measure it, but just to have the teacher, have the parents work together to make sure that they understand that it's not presented in a negative and possibly the worst case scenario, traumatic way. The bus is designed, it's routed to hold a small number of children so that there's one per seat. Unless you're in the same family, then you can double up. Actually, you will probably ask firmly to double up.
Pretty much required.
Thank you. Okay, so that's
Cannot get on the bus without a mask on, and if they don't have a mask with them, the bus driver will provide them with one.
And in general, I can speak for our kindergartners. The little ones are definitely, they follow direction sometimes a lot better than we do as adults. So we just need to get that direction in their hands as often as needed to help them understand it's necessary, it's important, and this will keep them healthy and safe. Masks will be required on the bus.
Yes.
If a child forgets a mask at a bus stop, the bus drivers, we are providing our bus company with, we are purchasing and providing our bus company with masks so that the bus driver can provide them. The bus driver will also be taking attendance. This is not something that would have been done so formally in the past, but we need a record in the event that we have to contact trace. We need to know exactly who is on that bus. So contact tracing, what that means is if a child tests positive, we then have to determine who was in contact with that child while symptomatic in the school building. Our nurses would help there, and our folks across the board would help there regardless of what program, what grade level it's in. But that part of that is having an attendance record coming into the building immediately upon bus arrival.
I just want to add to that. In the past, I know there's been times when a family asked that their child ride home a different bus with a friend because they were doing a play date or because they were doing childcare. We cannot do that because we have the buses routed so that they are at capacity that enables us to social distance. So your child will only be allowed to ride the bus that they are assigned to.
And that's K through 12 as well, just so you know.
Yes, it's for everybody.
Okay. Will the children be allowed outdoor play or playground play?
So in the past, the teacher would work with the principal to find some time if they wanted to go outside, where they could go outside to play on the field. There's a lot of space in our building, so that would be arranged between the teacher and the principal.
Thank you. What will drop off and pickup look like? We addressed that to a certain extent already.
So right now, because of the time, it will only be UPK students arriving at that time. The bus is scheduled to come in around the same time. The parents could then pull up, and depending on each building, the drop-off and pickup will be directed by the building principal. In the past, there have been separate entrances in which the UPK children were dropped off and picked up from.
I just want to say, you know, just in the beginning, you might run into, you know, you might overlap because when our buses initially start out, sometimes the first few days they might run a little late, right? Because it's the first few days of school. So there could be a time when you go to drop your child off and the other students are still being dropped off in the first few days anyway. I just wanted to, I mean, I hope it's perfect right off the bat, but we just have to have a little patience in the beginning.
And I'll just also add, in the UPK classrooms, dismissal, they're the only group of students that will be dismissed at that time. So there will be no issue with dismissal. And please also remember there's only 9 students coming in. Some will be on the bus, some will be drop off, but there will only be a total of 9 students that will be picked up or dropped off at any specific time, except for Jefferson that has the full day, where it'll be a little bit larger.
And please be patient with us. You know, we're starting small for obvious reasons here, but on a typical schedule, during any given year, the beginning of the year is a little hectic. Things need to be tweaked. Routes need to be adjusted if the situation arises. Just please keep the line of communication open, but understand we're working to fix anything that does go wrong. We hope nothing goes wrong, but if it does, we're gonna tweak it and fix it. Do what we need to do as quickly as possible. Just again, please communicate with us, but understand we're working as partners here, and we'll get it resolved as quickly as possible. So that goes for any time, at any place, but it's probably more important this year because the anxiety levels are extraordinarily high. I also want to mention something I've mentioned during every one of these meetings. I don't think I said it before, and if I did, please forgive me. Child gets up in the morning, under the weather, not themselves. You know that this is not the typical morning in terms of how they feel. I understand that it's UPK and there's child care in mind here, and all of us as parents have things to do and places to be. You cannot put your child on the school bus. You're going to have to answer the questions on the questionnaire. You need to do this with fidelity, with integrity. You cannot put that child on a school bus or bring them to school if they are not feeling well. Because heaven forbid they have a COVID issue or anything else for that matter. There's no reward for perfect attendance on the days that you're supposed to be in school. We need to protect everybody, your children and everybody else's. So if they're not feeling well, you have to keep them home. Please, please, please. Okay. Nancy, when is the information on, or Melissa, when is the information on transportation being sent out?
Transportation has the bus list, so they will be sending that out shortly.
Okay, so you'll get that specific to you and your child. Do we need to purchase supplies, Melissa?
So there's a handful of supplies that we would expect you to provide, you know, but for lack of, yeah, I don't want to take the time now. You will get a welcome letter, and that welcome letter will have the necessary supplies to send in with your children.
Thank you. All right, we'll scope, I think we addressed this already, but will scope be able to provide the same curriculum they have in the past with centers, circle time, etc.?
Yes,
Okay.
we'll be doing it a little differently, but we'll be doing it.
What is the daily schedule at school? And I think that probably is specifically a teacher question, but Melissa, I don't know if you want to add to that.
So basically, the schedule looks like the children arrive and they're greeted by their classroom teacher and teacher assistant. They then, once attendance is taken, we'll go into their morning meeting. After morning meeting, then they'll have a center time of a kind where they will be interacting with the other children, you know, distantly. Then snack is provided. That will be a mask break time because it will be when they're seated distantly apart from one another. After that is typically a gross motor time after their snack. And then gross motor would be outdoor play if that can be coordinated with the building principal, and indoor gross motor time. They will then come together for a recap of the day in a whole group setting. And in a 2.5-hour program, pretty much that's dismissal time. Integrated throughout the day will be bathroom breaks, and also many, many opportunities for them to wash their hands, and also for us to continue to sanitize in the room.
Excellent, thank you. That was very thorough. Is the classroom setup similar to other grades with the plexiglass partitions? Just to clarify, it's not plexiglass, it's actually a polycarbonate material. Plexiglass is kind of a generic term used for anything that's not glass but has that glass plastic look. plexiglass is not approved for use in schools because it doesn't meet fire code. What we're using in the UPK classrooms will be the same as what we're using K through 12. Unfortunately, our classrooms are going to look a little bit different than we've become accustomed in terms of inviting that social interaction. Even in cafeterias, we took out the tables, we're using desks, and the kids will be sitting at those desks with the plexiglass, the polycarbonate barriers around them. And this is about health and safety and presenting in a positive manner so it does not alarm, in this case, 4-year-old children. So how many kids will there be allowed in a class for pre-K? Melissa, I think you addressed that. You want to just give that a quick repeat?
Yeah, so I'll let Nancy talk a little bit about the half day, but in the full day where we're licensed through the Office of Children and Family Services, up to 15 students will be in that full day.
And in the half day, the cohorts are 9. So there'll be a max of 9 students in person on your 2 days that you're in session, 2 or 3 days.
Okay, thanks. All right, is the scope before aftercare running, and how can we sign up to partake in this? I think we addressed that before. We partner with Scope as well as part of our before and aftercare program. Melissa, Kathy, Nancy, somebody addressed this before about the eligibility for the UPK program.
And I'll just add that UPK students have never been able to participate in the before aftercare program that the K through 6 or 8 students participate in. That's never been an option for our UPK students.
And even more so this year because those before and after school programs also can only take enrollment where they're able to social distance. And they have even less space in the buildings right now because of the way we had to configure the buildings. So we're having enough trouble getting our own student, like the K through 12 or K6 students scheduled.
The other issue here, I imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong, is because the UPK program starts at 9:50, that program has to end before our school day begins K through 12 or K through 3 in this particular situation. And there's no place for those kids to be after our regular school day begins. So that would constitute a problem as well. Okay, confusion related to time. So it is from 9:50 until, just go over the half day and full day times again, Nancy, please.
Okay, 9:50 to 12:20 would be the half day. We are, at this time, we do not have afternoon sessions. So all students will be assigned to an AM session. If you requested a PM or initially received information about a PM, I have reached out to those parents to discuss an AM session. So all students in the half-day program will be in AM sessions, 9:50 to 12:20. The full day, 9:50 to 3:50.
Thank you much. All right, a question about hours. We just hit that. How many children in the class already addressed? When will we find out bus info? Will there be a bus? All right, so we talked about the bus info and the communication to families. Will there be a bus matron?
No, there are no bus matrons on the UPK buses.
Thank you. If we opted in for virtual until January, will we have the option to change that option after that time? I can answer that in terms of K through 12. We are asking parents for a commitment. If we can work in sooner based on class rosters and whatnot, we will, but I can't guarantee it. Melissa, do you have another idea in mind for the SCOPE program in terms of a flip to hybrid from full virtual?
I can speak a little
Nancy,
bit
okay,
to that. So it really depends on the roster and if there would be space to allow a student to come in. Again, we have to keep the buses because they're vans at no more than 9, and then the classroom at 9 also for the UPK, the half day.
And this is not part of the question, but I'll add it. What if a parent wanted to go from hybrid to full virtual?
I don't think that that would be an issue.
That's easy part.
That
Okay,
would be allowable.
Not for us K through 12 either, so consistent there. Okay, will UPK go 5 days a week when the district goes to phase 2? And that we will determine and let you know in advance. Anything to add there?
I think, you know, we just have to keep in mind that while in K through 12, we use larger buses, so we also have to remember that we're using small vans, so we have to take that into consideration when moving from one, adding more days or moving from one model to another.
Transportation has been a limiting factor for the UPK program because we are using the vans and not the buses. So again, we need to be able to maintain the social distancing for as long as needed. Right, as SCOPE is a separate program, are there teachers, teacher assistants being COVID tested? Will they have masks on all day as well?
So our staff will be wearing masks all day. And we will follow all CDC guidelines as well as the Department of Health. And we also align ourselves with the school district protocol. So we will be adhering to the same guidelines that the school district is.
Okay, and just to add to that, we are not requiring that teachers, teacher assistants be COVID tested prior to starting the year. It's something I've spoken at length with the Suffolk County Department of Health about. They're not necessarily recommending full scale or random testing. What I have worked through, and I can certainly work with Melissa to make this available, should it be a SCOPE teacher that has a symptom, to get them to a place where they can be tested and respond, that test response generated within a 24-hour time frame, as opposed to going to those centers where it takes 7 to 10 days. We want to, if they're not COVID infected, we'd like to get them back as soon as possible, obviously, and if they are, we'd like to know that as soon as possible as well. Okay, what's the procedure if I want to pick my child up from school instead of having her take the bus on certain days? So that's definitely a Melissa question.
So each classroom is furnished with a cell phone, and in that welcome letter, you will be given that phone number. We would ask that you let our teacher know as quickly ahead of time before this is taking place. Also, it must be someone that we have on our emergency card information, because we will require that they show identification upon pickup.
Thank you. All right, is full day UPK at Jefferson also starting at 9:50? I'm behind on the questions here, so that was probably asked before the time was announced, but yes, 9:50. How will socialization be encouraged while still having students socially distanced? There's 3 parts to this. I'll start with that one. But in terms of the classroom setting, we have all these measures in place. How will we encourage 4-year-olds to understand the importance of playing nice together and socializing?
So we are working to put in place some activities and some learning experiences where the children will gently be talked to about keeping their distance. We know that this starts at home, so we'll partner with you to make sure that the children, are well prepared for the experience once they get into the classroom. They've been going through these kinds of scenarios for a long time where they have been encouraged to stay apart from their friends, so on and so forth. So we'll make sure that there are constant reminders. There's a lot of literature and information, and also curriculum-driven activities that pertain to this grade level that will provide this kind of information in a playful, happy kind of way. That's one of the reasons why also we are encouraging the use of masks in the classroom, because we know that children have a difficult time understanding these concepts. So under those circumstances, the mask wearing will keep them safe through this learning process.
Excellent. How many teachers in the room for a half-day program?
So in a half-day program, we will follow the UPK guidelines, which means that there will be a certified teacher and a certified teacher in each teacher assistant in each room.
Okay. Is there a sink in the bathroom in the classroom or in the classrooms?
Yes.
And we have, Kathy, you want to talk about the touchless sensors?
Yeah, so we've gone throughout the district and changed out all the appliances on the toilets and on the faucets, and as well as the paper towel dispensers that are touchless. So it's going to look a lot like when you go into an airline bathroom where you don't have to touch anything.
And not that we are experts on how this virus spreads. I don't think anyone is at this point, but reading enough, the primary way to contract this infection is not through touching a surface. It's through inhaling aerosol particles, particulates. but that doesn't mean you can't catch it off a surface, so we're taking every necessary precaution in that regard as well. Can children go on the playground? I think we've addressed that one. Will hybrid for pre-K for half day, is it 2 days or 3 days? So I believe, Melissa, you're going to follow our cohort schedule.
Yes,
So that's, you'll either be assigned to a Tuesday, Wednesday cohort or a Thursday, Friday cohort, and Monday will alternate between the two. So 1 week you'll have 2 days, the next week you'll have 3 days, and I imagine that will be laid out in the schedule that gets sent home to you. Okay, I think this is a new question, a good one. Will they be using shared toys such as blocks to work on problem solving and negotiation, compromise, etc.? It's a great question.
so our intent is for the manipulatives to be containered for each one of the children to be able to use. So they're using the same materials, but they'll each have their own, for example, counting teddies and blocks and things of that nature. So anything that is shared, and we're trying to eliminate anything that's really high touch and shared, will be removed from the room. But occasionally some materials would be sanitized between children's usages.
Okay, thank you. I'm looking forward to doing the full virtual UPK. Will there be a way for us to report when we are having technical difficulties with the internet, and how will attendance be measured or the requirements for attendance?
So again, each one of our classrooms does have a cell phone that makes it available for our teachers to be able to communicate quickly with home if needed. So attendance can be updated and monitored that way. Also information and activities provided through Remind app and so forth.
Okay, great. Will UPK students have the same polycarbonate barriers the other grades are utilizing? The answer to that is yes. And remember that they're in the same building that everybody else is, so this is a collective effort here to keep everybody safe and protected from, as best we can. There's no guarantees anywhere, but doing all we can to protect aerosol particulates from spreading, that's among our primary goals here. Are the UPK kids allowed to be seen by district school nurses? If not, will there be a medical professional available for our children if needed? And we've always worked this out. Melissa, correct me if I'm wrong. Nancy, either one of you. Our nurse will absolutely see a UPK child if needed. The nurses in the building, we're not going to certainly send them somewhere else, particularly if it relates to COVID. Our nurses are doing some very specific training coordinated by us here through Northwell and other trainings, and et cetera. We want to make sure that anybody in our building is being screened and directed correctly. And that would apply not just to COVID, but to other things that go beyond scrape knee, correct?
Yes, if it's a minor thing like a little scrape, the classroom teacher will resolve, but anything beyond that, the school nurse is available to the UPK students also.
Okay. All right, this is a question that I know I've gotten K through 12 as well. If we reach phase 3, can my child still remain full remote? Per what Melissa said, full virtual will only last 30 minutes for the morning meeting, and then they're on their own doing activities and not seeing what the kids in the classroom are doing. So that's a two-part question there. The phase 3, and we would work this out with scope, unless, and this is more of my thought at this point, unless this virus is eradicated and gone, I don't feel comfortable telling any parent that they can't stay remote. I think it would be irresponsible for us to go in that direction. If something magical occurs and it's gone completely, well, then there would be really no reason to stay full remote. So we would ask that everybody return, and I'm really more speaking K through 12. But if not, my thought right now is if you want to stay the year, you stay the year. And I imagine Scope and we would work that out together. So Melissa, if you want to add to that and then talk about the full virtual only lasting 30 minutes.
Yeah, so we would work with you, certainly with district, to put in place the potential if that's desired, for sure. Talked a little bit before, so the teacher would stream live for 20 to 30 minutes, providing instruction, and then the activities would be provided for you to build on those skills that were being reinforced and introduced during that lesson in an at-home setting.
Thank you. A follow-up to that, how will the remote students interact with the teacher? That may have been addressed to a certain degree. I'm not sure completely.
Yeah, so Nancy, you want to jump in?
No, go right ahead. Go ahead.
So I was going to say there will be opportunities during the week where the teacher will interact directly with your child.
Okay, terrific. All right, these two questions are phrased differently, but the same idea. I'll read them both. Will our children be allowed to bring a water bottle and have frequent access to it? Can I send my child with a reusable water bottle from home?
So we discourage, especially right now, anything coming from home that could potentially run the risk of being shared. Scope provides all of that in the classroom. So there's water provided, and it's not exclusive to snack time. So your children will have the opportunity to ask or be provided with beverage during the day, and the snack is provided. So we ask that you not provide those things from home, just in the event that it could be shared.
Okay, thank you. Asking for clarification about UPK students. Are they eligible or able to utilize the scope before and after care program with the older students? The answer to that, unfortunately, is no, they cannot. All right, can you explain how drop-off and pickup will work in a little more detail?
So what I will add is that it looks a little different at each of the buildings based on where the classrooms are. So the teacher will relay that information to the parent when the students are assigned to a class.
Okay. Melissa, I think you just addressed this. Just want to confirm virtual time will be live for only 30 minutes, or will it be the whole class time?
It will not be the whole class time.
Okay. Does full day UPK have a bus? I think we addressed that. And again, I'm getting to these as quickly as I can, but some of these questions are
Yes, so
behind.
the full day UPK has a separate bus than the half day UPK program at Jefferson. So there's actually two buses that take students to Jefferson.
Thank you. I think this was an addendum to a question, but unfortunately people are submitting very quickly, so I don't know how it's attached. It just says for Zoom, so I'm going to pass over that. Will there be desk shields? Yes, the polycarbonate materials we spoke about. What is the official start date? I don't think we answered that yet. We're in alignment. The official start date for children has been shifted to Wednesday, September 9th. The kids in the Tuesday, Wednesday cohort would be in school. The others would be starting remotely. Okay, so Wednesday, September 9th is that official start date. I'm sure that will be in the UPK communications. We adjusted the calendar a little bit to accommodate 3 consecutive conference days for staff at the beginning of the school year for us in Huntington. Okay, Kathy, you can speak to this one, please. Will the bus be disinfected at all times?
Yes, so the buses are going to be thoroughly disinfected in between, well, you're only doing the morning, but in between the morning drop off and the afternoon pickup. All high-touch surfaces are going to be continuously wiped down, and at the end of the day, there's a deep cleaning for every bus.
Excellent. Thank you, and that's K through 12 as well.
Yes.
Okay, not a question, but a thank you note. I appreciate that. I think we all appreciate that. And again, thanks to Scope for a great partnership, and to the parents, to you folks as well. Do they need to wear masks the entire time in the classroom? I think we addressed the masks and frequent mask breaks. Please help desensitize your children before they come to school. Take every opportunity you can. I'm sure you're doing that already. It's going to work to benefit all of us. All right, Melissa, this is for you. Have all the teachers been hired and assigned to a class?
We are in the process of making final commitments with regard to the instructional staff.
Okay, this one's for you as well. Will other people be allowed to drop off and pick up my child if I authorize it, i.e. grandparents, babysitter, etc.?
So what I would ask you to do when you get this welcome letter and receive that phone number, please make arrangements with the teacher with regard to all people that could potentially be dropping off and picking up. In the event that it is a last minute decision, then you can call into the classroom and just prepare the staff for that as well, because we will ask that appropriate documentation be shown upon pickup.
Excellent. Okay, non-COVID related, but a very valid question. Can a parent assist the child with buckling seatbelt on the bus?
We encourage parents to work with their children now on the seatbelts. Parents are not allowed on the bus.
No.
One of the things that that I do at the beginning of the year is I typically pick a route with a lot of kindergartners on it, and I ride it just to get the year started. I'm not going to do that this year for unfortunate reasons, but I spend the first couple of mornings buckling kids in, and I'm always concerned that that's going to go by the wayside when I'm not there. But you know, talk to them about this before the year begins. It's very important, and we're talking about COVID, but there are other safety measures that we can help with as well. Okay, it's a very nice thank you note. Thank you to this parent. We're working hard in Huntington. I think everybody's working hard. We're really trying to focus in on all aspects, leaving no stone unturned. So thank you for that. When is the busing schedule being mailed out? I think I may have missed that from the parent asking.
Once we're all set with all the routing,
Okay.
we don't have a set date as of this time.
Okay, thank you. As soon as we can, for sure.
Yeah.
But if my child is absent, can she attend virtually that day? What is the process for reporting an absence? That's the first half of the question. We have our K through 12 in place. I'll let Melissa address that from UPK perspective.
So reporting an absence, you would call into the classroom with that number and just either leave a message or let us know. But I'm going to let Nancy take over the rest of it.
So the other part of it is, can the child attend virtually that day and still be marked present if they're engaging remotely?
Yes, students should be able to attend virtually that day if they're not physically in on that day.
Okay, perfect. Next part of it is there a nurse on staff for the UPK students in each building? Yes, we have a fully licensed registered nurse in every building. 2 at the high school. There are actually 10 nurses in district.
If I could also just add to that, sorry, Jim,
Go
all
ahead,
of
please.
our staff is being COVID trained with protocol and procedure while in the classroom, but also they are all first aid and CPR certified. Teacher and teacher assistant.
That's terrific. Thank you. All right, another very nice note. Thank you so much. We all love. All right, perfect. Thank you again. All right, this person missed the first 10 minutes. Children going to UPK all day, 9:50 to 3:50 at Jefferson. Will it be 5 days a week? And the answer is yes there. Are you recommending self-quarantine prior to the start of school, both staff and kids? No, we're not, unless, of course, you're in a situation where there is no recommendation. You must self-quarantine for 14 days. I wholeheartedly discourage you from taking any road trips to any of those 34, whatever the number is now, restricted states, because you will put yourself in a situation where you must quarantine from the day you return. So no self-quarantine being required, but we are very carefully working through any process that will lead to the potential for quarantine. And quarantine is actually not something that, at this point, according to Suffolk County Department of Health, they will dictate a formal quarantine. We're just going to tell you to stay home and follow up with them so they can give you the formal order. But if there is a case, does the whole school close? A good question, and one I've dealt with in all of my other parent forums, and the answer is that depends. If it's a case that's isolated in a UPK classroom, I'll use that here. Child tests positive, teacher tests positive. We are going to immediately engage with the Suffolk County Department of Health in a contact tracing process. If it's one case, it probably would not shut the whole school down unless we contact trace and that child has been all over in contact with every other child and staff member in that building. What it will do, almost without a doubt, is shut down that classroom. So you'll get a call from probably Melissa or Nancy or someone saying, you need to keep your kids home and the teacher's going to stay home, and it will be a 14-day quarantine period before anybody can return, and that would be X number of school days. They could still participate remotely, education continue, but they could not come to school until that 14-day quarantine period is over. If there were multiple cases in a school at a given time, again, through that process, it may result in that cohort being shut down, and that's part of the cohort process here. So if it happens on a Tuesday, it should not necessarily impact, or probably wouldn't impact, the Thursday, Friday cohort, but it would impact who's in the building on Tuesday, Wednesday. To what extent, it depends on where that child or staff member has been. I hope that answers that to a large extent. Okay, confusion on desk situation. I thought previously mentioned half-day will not have polycarbonate barriers, but rather tables where they will sit at opposite ends. And I'll let Melissa address that.
I can address that.
Oh, Nancy,
So
okay, thank you.
there are going to be tables. They're 6 foot in length, so students sitting on opposite ends will be 6 feet apart. And maybe I can ask Dr. Acker, will those tables have the barriers, or since they're 6 feet apart in nature, they will not?
They're going to have a barrier at the center of the table.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Mm-hmm.
So again, not asking you to compare, but we are approaching this in a layered fashion. So it's social distancing and masks and barriers, because at any one time, one of them could be compromised. So, you know, students are going to walk around at some point. The 6 feet may not be in place. It's important that they're wearing their masks at that time. Same thing at a table. They may be 6 feet apart, but somebody may move or they may sneeze. It's important for that barrier to be there. So I was speaking to a kindergarten parent yesterday who's a nurse, and you know, I know not everybody loves that, but she actually gave me a great analogy. Picture this as pandemic winter. What do? You layer up. You put on a turtleneck, you put on a sweater, you put on a jacket. Right now, we're protecting ourselves, keeping ourselves shielded from this virus with as many layers as possible. If things improve, we can start to peel the layers, but that's not how we want to start the year. We want to keep you, your kids, our staff, everybody else as safe as possible. So everything being in place helps us to do that. I hope you understand. And if you're not wholeheartedly in agreement, just please recognize why we're doing it. Okay, so should children bring a backpack?
Yes, we're asking that children come with a backpack without wheels so that correspondence can go back and forth in a folder.
Okay, Melissa, this one is for you. It's definitely a UPK question. Will the 30-minute session be just once in a day, and what time?
So it will happen in the morning. I'm thinking if the children are arriving at 9:50, it would probably be, you know, around 10 to 10:30. That's typically when they would be having their morning meeting, which is really the meat and potatoes of the day.
Okay, perfect. Nice thank you note. Thank you. Nice thank you note from a former Huntington student. We love when that happens.
Mhm.
Generations, tradition, that's terrific. Okay. Do UPK students practice lockdown drills and fire drills, Melissa? Nancy?
Yes, we follow all district protocol.
Okay, perfect. And the protocol may be modified a little bit in terms of how we conduct the drills. For example, in a lockdown drill, for those that are familiar with it, the children would actually, upon it happening, the window and the door would be blocked, and the students would kind of crowd into a corner of the room as far away from the door and windows as possible so they couldn't be seen. That may be replaced with everything up to that point, and then explaining to the students what they would do if something bad occurred in an age-appropriate manner, but not necessarily forcing them into the corner, but also helping them understand if it was an actual emergency, cramming into the corner is going to supersede, that safety is going to supersede the social distancing. So this is something that I know we're working with our elementary kids on, and I'm sure Melissa is doing that as well. All right, just to clarify, if the class is quarantined for 14 days, then the class would meet virtually every day during the quarantine time. I have my answer there. I just want to make sure I'm not overstepping scope.
Yes.
Thank you. It's a good question. Where will the recording of this meeting be posted? I'll put it up on the district website on the main page. It'll be in two places. I'll show you. Hang on. Just a quick screen share here. Okay, if you see right on the main page of the website, scroll down a little bit, right in the middle of the page, you'll see media links. Last night's high school forum is not up there yet, I don't believe. Nope, okay, but it will be there today. And also if you go to quick clicks, and this does not pertain to scope necessarily, but all of the reopening plan information for the Huntington School District is right under that. Hang on a second here. Right off the main page, quick clicks, you'll see right here, 2021 reopening plan information. It's all right here. And interested in other things, my communications, which are on the tab above, and also any additional parent information, tech assistance tutorials, district-wide resources, and other information about the virus. Someday we hope to be able to take all of this down, but right now it's there for the taking. Please do take advantage. Okay. All right, what is the mandate for flu vaccines? So right now that is not for us to mandate. We cannot do that independently as a school district. I do not know of any mandate for flu vaccines. I do know that they are strongly encouraging people to get the flu vaccines, primarily because that may help ward off COVID. I can't speak to that, but there is no mandate in place. Kathy, do you know anything further on that? Because I certainly have not heard it.
No, I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question? I just got interrupted.
Okay, I think we got it. What is the mandate for flu vaccines? And I just mentioned that there was none.
No.
Okay. All right, then that actually brings us back to the top. So are there any additional questions for Melissa, Nancy, over the district?
I have one question that I don't think we addressed. Will the student be with an adult to go to the bathroom? I will say that some of our classrooms are equipped with bathrooms. And Melissa, do you want to talk about the bathroom procedures in the classroom?
So the children will go into the bathroom on their own. If they are in need of any assistance in any way, then they will let one of the adults in the room know, and we will provide the assistance when necessary. There will be somebody there to, upon exiting, encourage the use of the sink for hand washing, of course, but we would do that during any time.
I'm just taking a quick run through to see if there's anything else that was missed inadvertently. I don't see anything. Okay. Okay, this actually came in after I just hit that flu vaccine question. Right now, one parent receives the emails and information from the school district. How am I able to add myself to the email list? So Nancy, just to clarify, the UPK families are in our eSchool data system. We want them to get communications about information district-wide, correct?
Correct. So we will add your information to eSchool, which is our student management system. Upon registration, I think we only collected one email address. So if there are any families that would like to have more than one email address, please, you can send me an email with that information. Or when you return to school, that information can be given to the teacher and we will add it to eSchool. Just please clarify which parent the email address should be assigned to.
Okay, thank you for that. Yes, we do want you to get all the information we send out, as well as from Scope. A thank you to all for the informative sessions. So Melissa, Nancy, Kathy, thank you. Anything else that we can address or any of us can address right now? Please understand that nobody's going anywhere. So if question you wake up tomorrow and say, oh, I should have asked that, please feel free to reach out to Nancy, to Melissa, to us at the district, and we will get you an answer promptly. I don't see anything.
Good luck, everybody.
All right, nothing else coming in. I'd like to thank you for joining us. Welcome to Huntington. We're looking forward to a great year for your kids and for your families, and we are hoping that we can get through this together as quickly as possible and move on to whatever that new normal may look like. But hang in there, be positive, prep your kids as best as you can, and we're here to work with you. So thanks again, folks, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.